In this lesson, we're going to do a wrap-up of REST-style clients against web services, and the example I'm going to use is JAX-RS. Both JAX-RS and RESTlet have a client-side API in addition to the server-side API. The JAX-RS client we're going to look at is going to go against the predictions2 service, which is HTTP servlet-based. So you could use a JAX-RS client against any REST-style service, just as you can use the standard Java URL connection against any RESTful service. All of the code for the client is included in a zip in the working files, and that zip is called jaxrsclient.zip. It contains a README and an Ant script to compile and run the client. Let's get into the client code. At line 0, I'm showing the first of 4 imports. There is a class called client that represents a RESTful client. There's another class called web resource that represents the resource against which the client is going to perform CRUD operations. There's the media type. We've seen that on the service side as well. That represents a MIME type. And there's a very nice form class that makes it easy to inject key value pairs into a request form on a post request. Down at line 1, you can see the URL for the predictions2 service. Once again, I'm publishing this service using Tomcat. And out of main, which I've not shown here, it doesn't do much, I call demo, and demo runs a series of tests, requests against the predictions service. So to begin, we instantiate a client. So client.create, very straightforward, easy to do. The follow redirects is in there just in case the service does a redirect. So basically, the client would follow redirects indefinitely. At line 3, you see the web resource. In this case, it's the predictions service. You create that, of course, with a URL. What follows are a series of short tests. So, for example, the first one called getAllDemo does a getAll request against the prediction service for both XML and JSON responses. There's a post demo, a put demo, a delete demo, and so forth. We're going to look at just 2 of these. So let me jump down here to the getAll demo, which takes the web resource as a parameter. This is the first of the 2. So you can see the resource has an accept method, which specifies the desired MIME type of the response, XML. And then there's a get at the end. There's also, of course, a post, a put, and a delete. And the data type here basically says, return that document as a string. In other words, as text. If we did some JAX-B work, we could return a predictions or an individual prediction. But that would have to be set up using JAX-B so that the unmarshalling could occur. Once the response is in hand, I print it out to the screen for confirmation. The second getAll is very similar, except the data type changes, of course, from XML to JSON. So really, nothing new there. The post demo makes use of a very nice utility class called form. So you can see at line 6, we instantiate a form, and then what you can do with the form is just add key value pairs. And those are then properly formatted into the HTTP post request. That request occurs down here. You can see the post verb at the very end, and the response once again is a string. In this case, the string is plain text because all we're going to get back from the service is a plain text confirmation that a new prediction has been added to the existing group. So having taken this quick look at the JAX-RS client-side API, let's now make some general points, and I'm going to switch from this working file, which is client-wrappup.txt, to its companion file, which is client-wrap2.txt. Let's begin with the JavaScript clients, because those are the ones we've looked at most recently. For JavaScript clients, JSON, of course, is the ideal response type because there's no need to do explicit parsing. The obvious point, but it's a point worth making again, I think, is that for Java and other clients, JSON is really no better than XML because the JSON would have to be parsed in order to extract the relevant information. Or, if not parsed, then JAX-B unmarshalling would have to be brought into play. On the client side, everything from the URL connection up through the client APIs available in JAX-RS and RESTlet are very, very friendly. They're easy to use. For example, connecting to the service and sending requests is relatively straightforward. The big issue on the client side is always this, and this is the one we've talked about repeatedly because it deserves emphasis. What is a RESTful client going to do with the return payload? Is this payload going to be parsed? Or is something like JAX-B unmarshalling going to be used to construct Java objects that then can be manipulated in the usual way? In my view, this is probably the toughest decision that you have to make in writing RESTful clients.